Welcome to this podcast.
Welcome once again to the Cast with Neye. Today we'll be discussing a very important topic. For quality assurance purposes and audio fidelity, you might be hearing some lag and sound variation because this was recorded via Zoom. Nowadays, the statement once I start, it's a small challenge, or in pidgin, na small challenge, or I'll do it. In pidgin as well, we go run am. It's now on the rise, as we have more of the I'll do it than is actually being done. Most times, execution is a problem, and even when executing, complete execution becomes a major problem. That I term procrastination. Procrastination over time has become a major issue, as it's not new, and this can be found particularly within the youths and the young adults. We have more talk than the work. On that note, the saying procrastination is a theft of time has been justified in so many occasions as deadlines not met, jobs lost, opportunities missed, and of course failure inevitable. So how do we work to win time? How do we scrap out the mentality of the I'll do it and embrace actual execution of the work? Today's episode, procrastination working to win time, that we'll find out. We have a guest in the house. Obviously, I'm super excited to have him. So,
he's a creative designer with over 6 years of experience with a particular expertise in logo and identity branding, a passionate problem solver to the society, as well as a solution provider for creatives at home and, of course, abroad. He's a podcaster as well. He's none other than Oladimeji Ajegbile. I hope I got that correctly. So thank you so much, Dimeji, for gracing this podcast. Like finally, my dream came true. Last, your dreams are valid though. Finally. So with no further introduction, Dimeji, please say something to the house, like hello to the listeners.
Hi everyone. And like she introduced, my name is Dimeji, and I'm just a simple guy who does things in a way that it feels convenient in. So
Okay. Thank you so much, Dimeji, for gracing this podcast. So this is going to be more like an interview. Questions have been reviewed and questions have been asked. So we want these questions to be answered. So firstly, speaking of procrastination, what do you term procrastination? Or in your own words, how will you define procrastination?
I would say procrastination is more like a fear of results, in my own words, because many persons are capable of doing certain things, but then the fear of actually getting started or seeing what happens after they do it seems like something dreadful to them, you know. Like, think about it. Like, there are several instances where we have a million and one things to do, but then we leave, the pressing issues, the now things, and then we start doing the ones that are, less important, like very menial.
Relevant,
You have
yes.
5 projects to work on for the month, and then you leave the main project and then you're working on like the least important. That just shows that you're scared of maybe the results that you would get from doing that particular work, and you just want to, do something a little bit less important. And it's not much as scary as people think it is. It's just a mindset. People call themselves procrastinators, but I just say that we are not procrastinators. We have the habit of procrastinating, and if it's an habit or if it's a habit, then it can actually be stopped or it can be reversed.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that's my recent thought on procrastination. If you asked me this a couple of months ago, I would have said um, everybody procrastinates.
Okay.
And I think that would be a wrong assumption, because there are certain persons who just do the work they have to do right there and then they let it go. But when you look at people who are tending towards a more creative path, where they know that the work they have to do is quite much, the volume of the work you have to do actually scares you to the point where you feel, let me just hold on a little bit and do something a little bit lesser. Maybe I would get ideas, maybe I'll get
Yeah.
inspired. And that wait, even though it is to some extent a part of the creative process, it is still procrastination in a form. So yeah.
Thank you so much. I think that's why the Latin word procrastinate means belonging to tomorrow. That's habitually or intentionally putting things off. Thank you so much, Dimeji, for answering that question. So recent studies have shown that people regret more the things that they haven't done than the things that they have done. And over time, they live with this feeling of regret and guilt. I wish I did this, I wish I did that. So this takes me to my next question. Why do people procrastinate? Is it the myth of I can work under pressure, or I have time, I feel I have enough time? So what do you feel about it? Why do people actually procrastinate?
Um, I think there are several reasons to why people procrastinate, and I think, well, don't let me. I keep saying I think the most relevant one in our day and age today is looking at the volume of work you have to do, and then getting scared by how much it is. You know, I think the most important thing I've seen about being someone who procrastinates is the fact that they know what they're supposed to do, but then they don't because
Yes.
either that the work is too much or they fear the processes to take them to get the work done, or they just feel like maybe if I take a break, it will get easier eventually. As much as you can term that as some part of laziness, it still goes down to, you wanting to hold on or delay the most important things because you feel you can work under pressure. So, what leads to
Yes.
procrastination? I would say number one,
True.
overthinking. When you overthink a particular task, thinking that it is too much, it is too difficult, or it's overwhelming, then you tend to spend more time worrying about the processes, the results, the future. And that's just the way procrastination is. You worry too much about the future that it scares you of getting action done right there and then. Many persons talk about the things you have to do. We write to do list. We talk about, oh, I'm supposed to do this today. But then your to do list is one of the instruments that actually fuels procrastination because
Yes.
you write 15 things on a to do list, you are bound to get scared. The human mind is not conditioned to work, and that's the way it is. I don't know if you know that. The human mind, human brain is not conditioned to work because we love pleasure, we love ease. So whenever things happen that requires you to put in a little bit of effort, and then you can see the amount of effort you have to put in, then your brain switches off and it's like, look, let's take a rest, let's take a break. And not taking off a break is just what leads to this whole procrastination thing. Because now you see somebody who has, let's say, an assignment to submit in the next, 3 hours. The guy gets it done because he's working under pressure. But then you find another person
Yes.
who has a project to submit in 3 weeks, and the first thing that comes to your mind is that I have time. Now that I have
Yes.
time is you pushing back something that is really important. It's a priority, but in your mind is not communicating it as a priority. It's communicating it as, oh, it's one of the many things I have to do, and that's because it's on a to-do list that has too many tasks
Important.
to accomplish. And in a case like that, you find the person instead of doing the most important project, find the person maybe doing the dishes, cleaning the house. Now, all these things are things you need to do.
Yes.
But then, because of the fear of the result or the fear of the work you have to put in, you just switch to the easiest one, the simplest ones, and get it done. Now, there are benefits of procrastination, and before we talk about that, what really causes it is you knowing exactly the things you want to do, and it's a good thing to know what you want to do. But at the same time,
Yes.
having them overwhelm you, it becomes a problem. So there has to be a very healthy balance between all these things.
True. Speaking of why people procrastinate, you made mention of the reason being that they see it as so much task to do, so they push it aside and then do irrelevant works. And then, but I feel another reason could also be that they feel that once they start it, they'll be able to finish it. Like they treat it as less important. Let's say maybe like the instance you give about the assignments. Maybe they
Yeah.
feel like, oh, more is a small thing. Once I start it, I'll be able to finish it. And until they start, they don't know that they're pushing it aside, see when it's due, and then they feel that, and then when they start, they now, this was actually big. Oh. So I think two of them to also are the reasons why people procrastinate. Them feeling that the task is so much, and then them feeling that the task is so small that they can finish it within a twinkle of an eye. Yes.
Yeah.
So speaking of laziness and relaxation, I was about asking that question. Oftentimes people merge laziness and relaxation, and then merge it to be procrastination. You get this saying that, okay, why were you not able to complete this task, or why were you not able to meet this deadline? And they're like, I was lazy about it, or I just felt relaxed. But there are two different things. So why do people keep merging it together? Or they see the act of procrastination as the act of laziness or being relaxed about something. So please, can you distinguish them, laziness and relaxation, in the context of being procrastination as well?
See, laziness is a normal part of human existence. When you have work, you always have the opposite. Just like you having light and darkness, you can't really separate them. So when everybody has to
Obviously.
work, there will be that state where you just want to let yourself go and not do anything. So, yeah, being lazy is just a default. It's just like any normal human being's habit. You just have to, like, it happens most times. You're stressed, you just feel like you don't want to do anything today. It happens. But then, laziness is just when you decide to leave the important things and do nothing at all. Like you're completely idle without doing anything. There is no activity you're working on. You're basically leaving everything to them, to their devices, and then taking
Yes.
a full long break or rest without doing anything. But then that's different from procrastination. Procrastination has to do more with doing something else when you should be doing something else. I don't know if that makes any sense. It's like the example I gave. You have a project due in 3 weeks, but
Okay.
then because you feel you have time, you leave the project that is due in 3 weeks and then you start cleaning, doing the dishes, or doing your laundry.
Doing some less
You're leaving
important
important
thing.
things to do semi-important things or not like that much relevant things. Now, as a creative, one of the ways I prioritize my
Yes.
own activities daily, I use this particular system where I categorize my activities based on three important, systems. So I categorize my
Okay.
activities based on urgency, importance, and necessity. Urgency, importance, and necessity. Now, these three different things, right? They have to do more with, if any task is urgent and important, then it goes to the top of my priority list. If a
Okay.
task is urgent and necessary, I can do it second. If a task is important and necessary, that can come third. But if a task is not urgent, it's not important, but it's necessary, then that is what I will do last. And I'll give you different examples of these three different spaces. Now, urgent, important can be, let's say I have a major project I'm working on and I need to submit in in a week, which is related to my business. That is a very urgent task. So I have to do it first. And then
Yes.
important, necessary can be, say I have a project due in 4 months, and I have to start doing the prerequisites, the ground up work. It's important, but it's not that urgent, so I can do it secondary. But then, let's say doing the dishes or paying for electricity bill at the beginning of the month, it is necessary, but it's not urgent and it is not that important right now, so it can wait. But then you cannot imagine me leaving the 1 week project that is due, and then I'm doing the dishes, cleaning my house, renovating my, clearing my apartment and stuff like that. Then I'm mixing up all these priorities. That is what procrastination is. You're leaving the urgent right now kind of events, and then you're doing the ones that don't require, any effort later. So that's just the way it is. Laziness is you outrightly leaving everything, being idle, doing nothing. Procrastination is
True.
finding something else, something menial, to replace something really important. So they're not the same. They're not the same.
How does relaxation come into the picture?
All right. Now there are times when you need to just take a break and clear your head, relax,
Yes.
have some time to yourself. Um, Now, when you get to that point, one of the reasons why I feel most persons get to that point of, let's say, burnout or breakdown, they put too much pressure on the things that they feel is important. When in reality, it's not that important. So the stress over the things that don't need stress. So by the time you're taking a
True.
break or you want to relax, the relaxation you're taking now is not to refresh yourself. It's to get away from that particular task, which is wrong, in my own words. Because I feel you taking a break or relaxing should have to do more with refreshing yourself after a long day's work or after achieving a particular result, not to get away from a particular task. By the time you are trying to get away from a particular task, then you can see that that can actually lead more into you spending longer hours trying to avoid a particular task, which leads you to being idle or procrastinate as well. So taking a break from something just to get away from that thing can lead to procrastination, and eventually it can end up being total and outright laziness where you just even don't do anything at all. So I find it this way that when I'm relaxing, when I want to relax, when I feel like I'm stressed and I need to relax or take a break, I always try to analyze it. Am I taking a break because I'm tired of this task? I'm taking a break to
Yeah.
refresh myself and get back to it and
Yourself.
be better. You understand? So there are two different things.
Okay. Thank you so much. So, are there types of procrastinators? We have types of procrastinators.
Yes, there are quite many. But then I think the three main ones that I've noticed and I've spoken to over my own creative career, there
Okay.
are serial procrastinators, serial, like people who
Cereal. Okay.
um, they do it all the time. Like it's become a lifestyle for them. It's no longer a habit.
Like on a regular.
Yeah, it has become a lifestyle, right? Remember
Yes.
that at the beginning I mentioned that um, procrastination is not procrastination is more of a habit, not really
Yes.
a lifestyle. But then there are certain
True.
persons who have done it repeatedly that it has become a lifestyle. That is their default.
Lifestyle.
That is their go-to reaction whenever things prove difficult, whenever a project seems excessively difficult for them.
You just put it out. True.
Yeah, that is just the way they do things. Serial procrastinators. Now there are people who have the habit of procrastination. These ones, although they are not occasional procrastinators, they procrastinate often, but it is a habit and it comes and it
Uh,
goes. There are times when they can get things done, they can go all out, get results, and not get scared or pulling out or pull out, right? But then there are some other times that they just switch and you just feel like, why is this person unnecessarily lazy this week or something? That is them having this habit. The habit comes and goes. But then there are people who just do it once in a while, and these ones are, I think, they are spurred by stress and burnout. When
okay.
they've overworked themselves, they've done
Okay.
things they shouldn't have done. They've really, really worked all the way, and then they feel they need to rest. But then that rest leads into something else, and that's because they've
Something
overworked
else.
themselves to the
True.
point where they can no longer, take on that particular task, and they
And
just
be
take a break. Now
effective in
that break
it.
is
True.
what leads to other things. Yeah. So three types that me I know and I've seen. Um, the serial ones, the ones that have become a regular habit, and then the
Okay.
occasional persons.
Habitual is gone. Yes. Thank you so much for answering that question. Now, procrastination has done more harm than good to the society. That's if there are good
Agree
sides
with
with
that.
enemies. I don't know if there are good sides to procrastination, but speaking like on my own side, I know that it has done more harm than. Let's look at the African reality. It has been once an occasion is time, you go there, let's just go there by 5 p.m. And opportunities have been missed. I don't know, like there's this default setting that Africans we don't keep to time, so we keep procrastinating, and that's why we hear people miss their jobs or opportunities, or they fail or something else was not good at all. So what do you have to say? What's your say on that? Because things have really been missed. I mean, jobs have been missed as well.
See, like I said, procrastination is a habit. For those who have made it a lifestyle, they need a lifestyle change. in the sense that they need to understand
True.
and prioritize their activities based on whatever feels important to them. For most persons, everything can be the same for everybody. For me now, if my job is what is most important to me right now, it is occasional. There are some times when my family will be what is most important. There are times when it will be my own personal health or my mental health that will be most important. So you need to understand how your different activities actually work with you as a person. I know that on weekends my work is least important because I need to actually take care of myself. That is what spurs me to become a better person. If I can rest well, get my mental health in check before the coming week, but then during the week I'm prioritizing my work because I have to pay bills. And then there are times when family is what is most important on vacations and the rest like that. Although there has to be a very healthy balance. But one thing everybody should understand is this, that balance is never 50-50. It can be equal. So one thing has to take the upper hand every single point in time. It's just like you having, someone has given this analogy before that you have three children, and these three children, they're of different ages. One is 18, one is 10, and then the other one is, 4 months old. That as the parent, these three children require attention, but then the attention they require are quite different. The one that
True.
is 18 requires very little supervision because he's 18, he's an adult, so very little attention. The one that is 10 requires maybe a little, maybe like 20%. But then the one that is 4 months old requires all the attention that there is. And that is the way most of our activities actually are. There are some of them that can actually fly and sit by themselves. For example, they are automated. At the end of the month, you pay bills. Those are automated activities, so they are not really that important. You don't really need to put too much energy on them. Every day you have to make food. It is a default. It's an automated system, so it has to happen like that. But then when you're looking at, going to work every day and this is what pays your bills, that is a very important task which has to happen every time. If you're a student, your studies, your exams, your tests, whatever it is that you're doing, actually that's meets up with your education is what is most important. So that requires all the attention. So when you can easily, create that differentiation between all these different activities, then you're getting yourself to a point where you understand that nothing in my life carries the same, requires the same attention. So because of that, you can easily start putting things in their place and know what to do per time. Now,
Yes.
the reason why most persons would say procrastination is a lifestyle for them is probably because they spent the better part of their years, having to work under pressure and they're getting results. Now, it is very
Oh,
tricky
okay.
in the sense that if you try something once and you get results for the first time,
True.
you assume that you know how to do it. And then if someone tells you to come and reproduce that same thing somewhere else and you fail, you start wondering that why did I fail? I thought I did it and I got it right. But then
True.
when something has been practiced over and over and over,
About time.
you naturally believe that this is the way it is done
By
and
default.
this is the way it has to be done. So you've always working under pressure, you're getting results time and time again. You have a project to get done in 6 weeks. You didn't start until the 3 days to go and you got results and you passed the exam or you passed the project, your grades are good. And you've done that 3 to 4 times. You feel that is the way it has to be. And you keep doing that. Not knowing that if you've actually tried something else where you started the day you're supposed to start and you took it step by step, realizing that you're doing all these things, you can actually finish maybe like a week or 2 weeks before the submission and you have enough time to yourself. But then we don't know that because we've only tried one way and we'll be getting results that same way. So my own recommendation now is that for this misconception that Africans, don't usually keep the time and stuff like that, I would say that
Yes.
it's a mindset thing and it has to change. Right?
True.
They say most Africans set their alarm, 10 minutes earlier so that you don't miss a particular event. Yes, that is true. Most persons do that. And that is because of the way we've been brought up. We've lived in a particular age where that is what everybody does, African time and the rest. But I think
Okay.
it still goes back to the narrative. How have you experienced it? Have you explored different options, different ways? Have you seen it as a problem first? If you don't see something as a problem, then you don't see the need to change it. I saw procrastination as a
True.
problem, and I told myself, you know what? I need to understand how my systems work. What are the default things I do every day? What are my most important tasks? What do I need to do per time? And
Yes.
after coming to a full-blown conclusion that I'm a serial procrastinator, then
Okay.
I decided to work on it. What needs to be changed? What plans do I need to put in place? How do I know when I'm already sleeping and I'm getting to that point where I'm getting serial again? It takes discipline to understand that you are, this particular thing, and then changing it
Yes. True.
requires a lot of work. So, yeah, it's just the way it is. And I think as Africans or as Nigerians, the educational system didn't really help things because you were not interested in the old schooling thing at first. You were forced into it or somehow. So having to do projects, assignments, and so many other things
And the rest of
required you
them.
to just read and produce the result without having to do it because you love it. Now, I'm saying this with so much authority that when you love what you do, procrastination isn't an option because I have to get this thing done whether I like it or not. But because the love is there, the passion is there, you get discipline enough to want to get it done without having to delay things too much. People talk about the fact that I do things a lot, I'm consistent and everything. And I laugh because I'm not consistent in my own words. I'm doing these things because I have no choice, because it has become a lifestyle for me. So when something has become a lifestyle for you, I'm talking about the work you have to do now. Then getting it
Yes.
done becomes a default because you need to do it every day. And the same thing goes for procrastinating. If it has become a default in your life, then it just happens by default. Like you don't even see it as a problem anymore. So if you want to know that you have a problem with procrastinating, I think these are some of the ways I feel would really help you. I studied a couple of persons and a couple of articles about this a couple of years ago, and I realized that procrastination stems from the need to um, get results, but at the same time, being scared of that result you're about to get, or the amount of work you have to put in to see the result you want. So you're looking for the easiest way to get the result without having to do the work. And that is where
True.
procrastination really lies. You want to get the results without having to put in all the work. So
Good
you're
work.
looking for shortcuts, you're looking for easy way out, and eventually you find it. Like usually you find the easy way out. And the easy way out is just to probably steal someone else's work, or to just copy, or to just, find a way to just get it done without having to do the actual work. And these are ways I feel you can know when you're slipping into the habit of procrastination. Number one is that
Okay.
you know what you need to do. Like you're clear. Your mind is clear. You have a clear-cut idea about what you need to do. Right? Now, the next to that now is that you realize that getting to do this work requires you to actually put in a lot of work. If any task requires work, right, there is always procrastination on one side, just waiting to just, creep in and take over the whole thing. So
Yes.
when you know what you
True.
need to do, and then you understand the work that has to go into it, then what really now solidifies the fact that you can easily procrastinate is, are there other things you do, or are there other alternatives to getting that thing done, or a way to just run away from the whole thing to get something else done? I don't know if it's making sense. Like you have a
It
million and
is.
one things to do, but then you switch to something else that you feel can help you out when you're wasting time doing something else. So once you can easily notice this pattern where you know, as in clearly and it's well defined that I have to do this thing, and then you understand the level of what has to go inside that particular thing, then the
True.
last sort of thing now that sort of makes you know that procrastination has become a lifestyle for you is if you always have a go-to thing to run away from all those responsibilities. Yeah. For some persons, it's social media. For some persons, is maybe doing something that they love. Do you know that procrastination isn't really all about the things you love? It goes into the things you need to do to just get yourself going. Take for example, When I was in uni, I loved, sketching and drawing and making doodles, right?
Okay.
Whenever we are in history class, I'm always doodling on my notepad. I don't listen in class whenever it's history class because I've realized that history is one of those courses that is a prerequisite. If you don't pass the first one, you can't go to the next one. So it is important. I needed to finish it. It's 3 units. But at the same time, I wasn't interested in it because I just didn't like it. So
Yes.
the easy way out for me in that class or in those classes was to doodle at the back of my notes. Now, one thing with procrastination is that it helps you to see the things you actually love most or more than
Really?
what you're trying to yeah, it helps you see something you love better. See, the thing is this: try and watch it. What do you when you're procrastinating on a particular task? What
What
are
do you
you
find
doing?
yourself doing?
What do you find yourself doing? 80% of the time, that thing you find yourself
Okay.
doing is probably what you should actually be doing with for the rest of your life. 80% of the time.
Wow.
Because if you notice, most persons are procrastinating on something really important. To them, they feel it is important. But then what is actually more important is what they are currently doing while procrastinating. And I've noticed that. Because if in
Oh,
school, you're always, maybe now it's a little bit tricky anyway. But let's say in school, you're always when you're supposed to do really important things, right, for school, you're always found maybe playing football or a couple of other things. Now, most people won't really tag that as doing something productive. But to the person who is doing this task all the time, it's actually a
yeah.
potential to actually grow in that particular area. So, but because of the way the African space is now, you feel like, oh, you're always playing football while you're supposed to be studying. What is wrong with you? But then I had friends, they realized that this is what I actually love. This is a passion for me. This is what I do when I feel like the whole world
It's
is
my
against
turn.
me.
True.
And then after school, they just went all out with that particular thing.
Me,
And it's
yeah.
helping them now. For me also, I realized that I'm not cut out for office work or sitting down in front of, getting someone to tell me what to do. So anytime I was in a setting like that in school, where there has to be this particular job we have to read for, a particular program we have to read for that is not practical, I don't do well. I probably will be procrastinating doing something else. So when I realized that, I was like, okay, maybe I should just spend some more time trying to analyze, understand all these things I do when I'm supposed to do something important. And I realized a couple of things. Number one is that is either I'm drawing, sketching, or doing anything artistic. Number two, it's either I'm documenting my thoughts or the way things have happened to me in the past. And then the third one, which sort of made everything clearer, is that whenever I do these things well, the results I get makes me a lot more happier than when I actually complete a school project. And I'm like, okay, I think I found
Okay.
a path for me. Now,
Your
for some person, it
passion.
might be different,
Yes.
right? But then check, like, watch, look at it. That thing you do while you're supposed to do something important could actually be a potential space for you to actually continue in to get, it can be your life's work, if you ask me. So, procrastination actually can help you realize that there is more to yourself than what you do right now. And that's because it opens your eyes to see what are those things I'm always doing. Because if you always procrastinate,
Doing.
then that means that thing is something you are always doing. Nobody's forcing you to do it. That is your
Doing.
go-to get away.
Yes.
Then that means it's important to you. It should be important to you. And if you try to do it, I know certain persons who
Yes.
procrastinate on movie reviews. Like they are always writing movie reviews while they're supposed to do really important things. And when I was speaking to one of them, I told her that you're always doing this thing when you're supposed to be working on your business.
Mm-hmm.
You even thought about that this could be a potential, thing for you. And she was like,
Path for you.
no,
True.
it seems too simple. And I'm like, that is the point. The fact that it seems too
Ah.
simple, then that means it is something you can leverage and make it your life's work. And right now, she's running a particular movie
Do.
review blog that is really doing well. The Instagram is popping. And I'm like, see, if you actually started this a long time ago, maybe it would have become a lot bigger than it is now. So
True.
you never can tell. But if you find yourself doing this thing involuntarily, nobody is forcing you to do it.
Yes, over and
There's
over.
possibility in
True.
that area. So
Okay. So we can say that procrastination has benefits. Like you've just listed one benefit. It
yeah,
helps you
well,
discover your
it does
passion
it does
when it's
more
done
harm
over
than good.
time.
But
So are there other benefits?
okay, now
But there are
other
benefits,
benefits
there are
of
good sides
procrastination
to
I've
it.
seen is that um, you usually switch from wanting to get things done, to actually
Okay.
understanding how to get it done in a shorter time. Because people who procrastinate know this. Um, you have 6 hours to get something done, but then you're like, you know yourself, you won't start until maybe like the last hour to go, and then you say that you work best under pressure. Yes, amazing. Now that working under pressure is actually a
Yes,
skill.
there's this. I work better under pressure.
Yeah, it's a skill, but then it has an elastic limit where you could just, you can mess things up. Now, inside a typical procrastinator's mind, or someone who has a habit of procrastination, what you find is you'd always find this inner critic, or this time conscious critic, always reminding you that you have to get this thing done. Time is going. Time is going. But at the same time, you have this other one who is saying, "Come on, you know you can do this thing in like 2 hours. You just relax." And then most times we listen to the one that says, "Just relax," because it has given us results time and time again.
Yes, true.
Now, for time-based activities, that is perfect. It works because you know that at a particular time I have to get done with this task. If the deadline is 6 p.m., then by 4 p.m. I have to start working so I can get ready for 6 p.m. Now that is for
Yes.
time-bound tasks. But then where it helps is only with time-bound tasks. Let's say for an assignment in school, a 6 month project or something that requires a time limit or a time period. Yeah,
True.
procrastination can actually help you in that area because your mind is actively searching for other things to do within those periods. Say, let's say I'm working on the 4 weeks project now. The first week of the project, I just do my research and
Okay.
then I just take a break. But my break is actively allowing my mind to search within different platforms, anything I see that relates to the project. So I'm building up momentum in myself that when it is a week to go, there's this energy rush that comes into me and I get these things done in less than 3 days.
Go on.
You
True.
understand? I already know that I can get a project
Yeah.
done in 3 days. But then all those buffer of time is allowing me to just, put two and two things together for when I have to put in all the work. For me, I call it the slow boiling process. That slow boiling process is where water
You
doesn't
what?
just boil, slow boiling process. When you're
Okay.
boiling water doesn't just boil immediately. It is getting hot,
Yes.
and then
Gradually.
it
True.
is until later before you start seeing the bubbles and then the steam. But then what is happening within those periods is
Yes.
getting hot, is it just getting ready for the boiling or for the physical boiling. So it's not like you're not doing anything. Your mind is actually searching for things to do or things connecting to that particular
You
task. And
do.
procrastination helps you to do that perfectly when it is time bound. Now, the point where there is a disaster now is for real life things, like when there is no time involved. How do you procrastinate? How do you put a time to changing the way your life is, or becoming a better person? There is no time limit to it. There is no time duration. It can take years, and that is where procrastination becomes crazy. Like it becomes really really bad, because if you keep saying that I want to better my life, I want to change the way I live, I want to do this, I want to do that, there is no time to it. Now that you're all grown, there is no assignment, there is no project, the procrastination becomes deadly because
Yeah.
there is no time bound limit. So this thing keeps pushing. It keeps pushing time and time again. It keeps pushing, and there is nobody there to tell you you have to submit this thing. So that's where
Yes.
procrastination gets difficult or gets what is the word,
Worse.
dangerous,
Yes.
because there
Worse.
is no time involved. Procrastination is perfect when there is timing, because
Okay.
anything I want to do, I have to get it done
I
before
have
6
time
p.m.
bound.
today.
Yes.
But then when it requires, you know, let's say for people who are all grown and have families, saving up for children's school fees, or building a new house, or finding a new job, or improving your career or stuff like that. There is no time into it, so it keeps pushing, and then it keeps saying, "I'll do it later, I'll do it later," and with that particular lifestyle, later never comes because every single day new problems will rise, new challenges will come. So for the school system, for a time-based system, for a timetable-based life, procrastination can actually be your ally. But
Yes.
then when it requires a lifelong journey, it's a very risky thing to do. So
Okay, so that means you can there's a justification for people that say I work under pressure.
yeah, because
Because you
there is
said
a
now that
time limit to it.
yeah, there's a time bound, yes. And they believe that once it's that time, they put in all the energy that they need. Okay,
Yeah.
no problem. Thank you so much. Okay, so now speaking on working to win time, how do we bridge the gap of procrastination with working to win time? That's to say, how do we work without having to procrastinate? You have mentioned a few, and you mentioned what works for you, that you normally have this to
Yeah.
do, and you rank it accordingly from urgency down to necessity. So, are there other ways which we cannot have to procrastinate?
Okay. Now, if I would think of other ways that you wouldn't have to procrastinate, the most important one right now
Yes.
is saying that if you can get it done now, then you have more time to do other things. Many persons don't consider that because they feel, you know, things are not really that much for me to do. So when you're a little bit idle, you don't really have many things doing, then you can't really get to that point where you feel, where you analyze that I have more things to do, right? But then
Yes.
one that is like foolproof that I've seen that has worked for me time and time again is knowing clearly that if you don't get this thing done now, then tomorrow you would have two more things to do. And if you don't do
Okay.
tomorrow, then you have three more things to do the next day, which means
Three
that
more things to do.
for
Yeah.
every day you keep pushing it, it keeps piling up. And it gets to the
True.
point where you are just all annoying and crazy at yourself, all because you skipped a day.
That's why
Now
people
there
have
is
this I'm stressed. I'm stressed.
exactly
That's why
so
some persons have this I'm stressed or I have so much to do. True.
yeah. So one of those things that I feel is foolproof for most persons can try is working with this thing that is called the 2-day rule. Now the 2-day rule is a phenomenon in the productivity space that talks about the fact that if you're working on a particular thing that you want to get a result of, or you're trying to build a new habit or quit a bad one, you must not miss a task 2 days in a row. Because
Okay.
if you do, then you can easily slip back into your lifestyle or your normal habit, and then everything goes back. I'll give you an example. Let's say I'm taking a break from working today. Let's say
Okay.
I'm supposed to start working by 11 a.m. and then I say, you know what, let me just sleep in
Okay.
a little bit and start working by 1 p.m. Next day, I must not do the same thing because if I do,
Yes.
the day after that, the same thing would happen,
It's sleeping
and then it
into
continues like that. So the
procrastination.
2-day rule is that if you skip a particular habit or you do something you're not supposed to do today, you must not repeat it tomorrow. If you repeat it tomorrow, you can easily slip into that lifestyle and it becomes a normal thing.
Oh,
So
okay.
if you
Normal
say, I want
thing.
to take a break today and rest, you must not do the same thing tomorrow if it is on working on something that is
Tomorrow.
important to you. So that's one of the ways I feel people can curb procrastination to some extent. And another way now is to just genuinely outrightly do what you love. Because if you're doing what you love or what you
Okay.
feel you have passion for, you won't feel that stress of wanting to do something else because that is what you love. So what
Procrastinate.
is something else you want to go and do?
Yes.
I don't like
Do
if you're
else. Do
procrastinating on
again.
something you
True.
love, then that means you have a problem. I'll just say it that way. And you need to see professionals, right? But then there are times when you just feel tired, after doing so many things. Now, that is the fact that you've done what you need to do. And one of those mentalities I feel I've come to realize over the course of my own creative space is this. I want to read it out because I think I wrote it a couple of days ago. Let me see if I can find it. I was writing an article, a newsletter to my community, and I realized a couple of things when we're talking, and I think I wrote it down immediately just to find a way to draw it back. So it was just an idea
Okay.
of if after a long, let's say after a period of time that you've done a lot of work and you're not seeing results, it's very easy to feel, like you're not productive. Because I found it. So I said, maybe you feel as if you only got a few hours worth of productive work done this week. All I can tell you is that over the years, those productive hours add up, even if it doesn't seem like it at the moment. Procrastination can set in when you feel like you're not getting results on a particular
Yeah.
thing. Now it is for those people who are doing something they love already. Like you're not seeing results, you feel like, oh, this thing is not working out. So you
Yes.
just enter your shell and you become unnecessarily lazy. But then you need to consider it from the angle of, you know, um, accumulation, not
Okay.
instant result. Because if every day you're doing this thing to help your business, to grow your creative career, if you're doing it every day, you don't expect to see results in one day because it is a journey. You can't see
Yeah.
result right now. But then if you look back 6 months, if you look back 1 year, if you look back 2, 3 years, you'd actually see results that way. So one of those things that actually helps procrastination is shifting from an instant result or instant gratification space to a period-based system where you're looking at it over a period of time. You're looking back after like a year and you're like, oh wow. So I started podcasting 2 years ago and I've interviewed 38, important people, and I've done more than 50 episodes, and I've had the chance to do this, to do that. It's just a way for you to see that there's actually more to yourself than all those everyday ones. But if you're focusing on the
Yes.
results every single day, you would easily get overwhelmed because you're like, I put in so much work
Okay.
today. I spent 7 hours, 8 hours on this particular thing, and then there's no result. So that can lead you to just, throw everything in and say, you know what, I'm not even doing this
Wanting
again.
to enter your shell. True.
Yeah. So the first thing is having systems, prioritizing your task based on importance, urgency, and necessity. Then the second one that
Yes.
has worked for me is I'm trying to remember. I mentioned it just now. Can you imagine? But then the last one we talked about now
The
is moving
2 day
from
rule. You did the two
yeah
day
the two day
rule.
yeah the 2 day rule. Yes, the 2 day rule. And then
Okay.
the last one now that I feel you can try is shifting your mindset from getting results every day to just doing
Okay,
the
that's
work
the
that needs to be
instant.
done and seeing results over time. Like accumulation actually helps
Okay.
clear all these issues with procrastination because you know that you can't get results in 2 days. You can't get result in 5 days. Results will come over time. So once you can realize that, then it allows you to just get your work done now and move ahead. Now, let me give you this last analogy. Well, I think maybe you just take over from there. Now, there is this mindset of wanting to get results that everybody feels result must be immediate. But then, over the course of your lifetime, with whatever it is you're doing, you will create so many pieces of work. Whether it is artistic work, whether it is creative work, whether it is office work, you do so many things, right? So you wanting
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
you do right now to be a masterpiece would be a very risky way of thinking because over the space of your, let's say, your 50 years of working in a particular space, or let's say 30 years, give or take, you'll create so many pieces of work. So that means over the space of your lifetime, you'll create so many masterpieces. So why worry yourself over what you're creating now when you know that you still have to do 1,000 more over the space of your career? So the idea now is this, that for every single time you're trying to do something and you want to get it done and move to the next one without procrastinating, then tell yourself that what I'm working on right now is not going to be my masterpiece. Tomorrow's own will
Okay.
be, right?
My
And
master.
because you know
Okay.
that, oh, tomorrow's one will be the amazing one. So that pushes you to get today's one done
Yes.
and want to focus on tomorrow's one.
On the
But the same
tomorrow's
thing,
zone.
when you get to
Okay.
tomorrow, the same thing happens. What I'm working on right now is not going to be my masterpiece. Tomorrow's one will be. And if you keep doing that every day, you
Yes.
realize that over the space of your career, you probably have created a lot of masterpieces that you did not know. Because most times, all
Masterpieces.
these
Yeah.
glorious things happen when we are not aware of it. Because you can't really define, what people will say of it. You can't really define how it would operate in the real world. It's based on what people think to some extent. And for most persons who are getting into this, tech space, the creative space, you are not really in control of the result you get. All you are in control of
Yeah.
is get the job done and let it go out. Whether Instagram, makes it
True.
go viral, or people like it, or the platform you're uploading to does well, or people listen to your podcast, that is not your concern. Your concern is put in the work, let it be as good as you want it to, and then
B.
the moment it has gone out, focus on the next one. Because dwelling too much on a particular you know production or
Project. Oh, yes.
project, and you become overly attached to it, if it doesn't do
It's
well,
true.
you can
Makes you
sink.
lazy. You
Yeah,
don't want to do
because you're
more.
like, I spent 7 days working on this thing and it didn't do
Yes.
well.
So I need a
I'm not
break.
doing it again. Yeah, and that break,
Eh.
the 2 day rule, going back to it now, that break
Yes.
can last longer than you can even
As
imagine.
long as true.
You understand? So
Yes. Yes. That's this is a whole lot. I mean, like from benefits down to how we can work to win time. Thank you so much, Imagine. So, at what point does procrastination transition from good to bad and from bad to worse? Which I feel you said initially, but you can still
okay.
point it again. Thank you.
So when you see a person who is always active and he gets things done, right, and he gets results
Yes.
based on the fact that he waits till the last minute. Yeah, procrastination is amazing for that person. Like the person is killing it, and I used to be that person. If I have
Playing it.
6 weeks to work on a project, I'm telling you, I wouldn't start until like let's say a week to go. And when you see the result, you'll be like, "Ah, you did this in 1 week,
Like
right?"
it's like something that you said since.
Yeah. And then I started glorying in that, saying that it's not this project, I can do it in 1 week. And then as the requirements started getting, tougher and
Yes.
much more tasking, the same mindset was still in my head of I can get it done in 1 week. So that didn't make me want to learn more about how to do those things. I didn't research anymore. I just had this, this strong head that I can do this thing in, 1 week. Not realizing that the quality of work, the expectations has risen to something that would require me to get it done in, let's say, like 2 to 3 weeks. So I was still carrying the same mindset and the same, work ethic of 1 week into a new space or a new person or a new system,
Yes.
where the very first job I did in that new space flopped because 1 week of me doing it, I realized like a day to go that, man, I've only done 40%, and it became a problem. I almost got sued for that particular job, all because the person I was working with was more like a government official that was working for the government, so it became a problem. So I'm saying that because um, procrastination makes you see results as the master of it all. Like if you've done it once, you've repeated the process over and over again, you feel you've mastered how to do it, which is wrong, which is a lie.
Yes.
You've not mastered anything. You're just repeating the same process for different things. And then when you now meet something that is bigger than you, it becomes a problem because now all those your I've known how to do it in the past becomes obsolete because now you are meeting something entirely new, entirely different. So from when it is time bound that procrastination was good for you, now once there's an upgrade in your lifestyle, in your way of life, in your how you work and stuff like that, it becomes risky because now the requirements have changed, the result, the expectant result has changed. So that means that 1 week or that period of time you've given to yourself of being the best at everything changes as well. So
Yes.
procrastination starts getting worse when you believe that you can always put things off and still get the result done in short period of time. I don't know if you understand that.
I do.
All right. So that's just the way I've seen it. That from a time-bound space, procrastination is amazing for you, but then it gets bad when you are now applying it to a more, should I say, a more lifelong process, something that doesn't require a time limit, something
Okay.
that requires you to,
Time
you
bound.
know, do it now or never. You know, there are certain things that are now or never, and when procrastination enters things like
Yes.
that, then it becomes a problem. An example of now
True.
or never can be, um, like a one-time offer to get a, to apply for a particular job, and you
Okay.
say, I'll do it next week. And next week comes, something happens, you couldn't do it, and then on the day of the application, like the final day of the application, you're trying to apply, and then it doesn't work out.
And it's
But
closed.
then,
True.
yeah, but then if you had done it the first day, and then you realize that there's a problem, you can always correct it because there is still that window of time. But then once it closes,
Yes.
that is the end. The same thing
Yeah.
with
True.
running a creative career. You don't know how long an opportunity can last. So if you keep saying I'll do it later, it can be a problem. And let me use content creation as an example for this while I round up. You know, whenever new things are trending
Okay.
or new spaces, new ideas, new topics are trending in the creative space, the people who jump on it first actually, get the best result because they are the first set of persons who are doing it. Now, for someone who procrastinates, you would say, I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, you don't do it, and it keeps pushing, right? And what happened to me? There was this particular trend that was going on all over the place, and I was like, eh, I'll jump on it later because I felt like it was going to be a trend that would last for a little while. But I didn't do it until like after like 4 days. Now, by the fourth day I
Okay.
did it, people who did it the first day have gotten, like they've covered the entire space with that particular trend. So me getting into it now, mine wasn't even visible because it was just one of the many other ones that have come after the first set of ones that got, the recognition. So I'm like, I've missed this
Yeah.
one. It has gone. But then, from that particular trend, the people who started it first or jumped on it first actually got brand sponsorship from certain brands who saw them doing that at first and it was beneficial. And I
Wow.
got the idea first to start or to join a particular trend the day it became something. But I said, you know what?
Yeah.
Let me just wait a little bit. And yeah, like right now it sounded like a regret, but I didn't even consider that as a regret because I'm like, I mean, it has happened. On to the next
Does
one.
that
So I'm just saying that
remove?
procrastination gets you to a point where you look back and it hurts you, but there's nothing you can do about it.
Yes. True.
So wanting to actually start living in that regret, um, thinking about the fact that you regret something should even scare you from, away from procrastinating. So,
Yes. For wanting to venture into it. Wow. What a wow. Okay. So finally, what's your advice to young people? I mean, even the adults are not. They're not like out of this whole procrastination thing. Them too are also involved in this. But what's the advice to have desire to do, like desire to start? Because that's what actually procrastination is, when you have desire to start, but then you keep posting it. So what's your advice to people that who have desire to start, or they have already started, but along the way they keep posting it, they are not seeing it, and procrastination is the obstruction. So what's your final advice to young people
um,
out there?
I don't think I'm in the place to advise young people because I'm also a young person. I'll just say this
You can just
as
say something like,
uh,
okay, you can do
someone,
it.
someone
You just need to follow the necessary step.
okay. I'll just say this as someone who shares your experiences as well. Many of us young
Yeah.
persons we share certain experiences, and um, what happens to me can be happening to you as well. So
Mm-hmm.
my stories, I've shared a lot of about my stories about the
True,
things
you
I've
have.
done, I've procrastinated from, and it's just to show you that nobody's above this thing. Even
True.
when you are at your 70th year, you still experience it. But what's
Procrastination. Very
important
true.
is to know that um, putting things off only adds
Habits.
more
Yeah.
to your stress. It never makes it easier. If you can learn that, like learn it now. If you still want to learn all those ones you've been learning in the past that you work under pressure or all those stuff like that, unlearn it, please. Because putting things off
Yes.
never makes things easier. It only makes it worse.
Add to your stress.
Although, you would have, you know, time to play games or to, watch movies or to scroll through Instagram. Yeah, it's a pleasurable
Yeah.
thing to just, lie on the couch and not do anything. But at the same time, when it's time to actually get the work done, you would actually hate yourself because it's just so much and you're overwhelmed. And that overwhelm can lead to so many things. It can lead to stress, it can lead to anxiety, it can lead to depression, it can lead to burnout just by one
Yeah.
singular act of procrastinating or
True.
putting something off. So please learn that uh, putting things off does not make things easy. It adds to the problem.
I need
And
better.
knowing that
Yes.
it is a problem, to start is easy. I'm telling you. Like people think starting is difficult. To start is
Yes.
easy. To maintain or to sustain what you've started is where the main work is.
The problem. Okay.
You understand? Because everybody
Yeah.
is starting something today. So that means starting isn't difficult anymore. But to sustain it and not give up, to sustain it and not become overwhelmed, to sustain it and not feel like, oh, you're wasting your life on this thing, requires a lot of work and discipline. So to discipline yourself, you need to first learn or understand that if it requires you to do too much at the expense of your mental health, then it is not worth doing. I learned that the hard way. Then, if you constantly question the result you get from doing that thing, then
Yeah.
you should reconsider ways of simplifying that process for yourself. And simplifying the process would only require you to practice it time and time again to know what works and
Okay.
what doesn't. So if you feel like, oh, you've been doing this thing over and over again and there's no result, then that just means that you've not done it enough to know what works and what doesn't. And that means that you have to actually be disciplined, put in the work every single day just so that you can get the result you're looking for. Result doesn't just come by doing alone. Result comes
True.
by doing over and over and over. One of the ways I can tell
And
you
over
that
again.
you can fight and win over procrastination, I'll be lying to you if I tell you that, because it is still something that would happen every single time. You can't just kick up procrastination all the way
Yes.
because it's already it's almost a part
Entirely.
of human
Yes.
existence. Yeah, there will be times where you just want to sit back and relax and just let yourself
True.
go. But then one thing you should take note of is this: that never repeat the same thing 2 days in a row, the 2 day rule. If you do that, you can easily just fall within, and then you get stuck. So I think that's my main takeaway for anybody who's listening.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dimeji. What procrastination is, what is not, to the benefits. I mean, there's so much I've really learned, and I believe that the listeners out there have learned, or learned, and relearned, like you said. So I'm super excited to have you at the cast with me. Like this is one day I have prayed for, and I thank God that it came to pass. So
Thank you for
Dimeji,
having
thank you
me.
so much. It's a wrap, guys. Thank
All right,
you so much. Cast with me. Bye.
bye.